going to win GE14? Because you are all in disarray.
How is UMNO going to win GE14?
We don't care about UMNO.
No, you cannot not care about UMNO.
We don't care about UMNO, we care about you. What you're doing.
You cannot say you don't care about UMNO. Because when you win elections, there are actually two conditions you have to deal with. Positive conditions and negative conditions. Look at all the sociological studies. What are positive conditions? What are negative conditions? Positive conditions are your strength and your abilities to win over the general public. Negative conditions are their weaknesses and their deficiencies. You need both positive and negative conditions to win the elections. So yes, we have our weaknesses. We do not deny that. But we are still a better alternative than Barisan Nasional. DAP, PKR and the progressive leaders of past are still a better alternative than the present Barisan Nasional UMNO.
So you're going to form a Pakatan Rakyat Mark II coalition?
Why don't we leave it when the at the time arrives? I do not want to get ahead of myself, or else you will say, Mariam, you never consult, you know.
You can't do it alone, can you?
Well, I can't do it alone. But neither can UMNO. I think the important question is, has UMNO any more legitimacy to rule Malaysia? Anyone can do a better job than UMNO lah. Isn't it?
Yes.
Of course.
Come on, if one MDB is not enough to tell Malaysians that this bunch of bandits and robbers do not deserve to be the leaders of a country, then what is the hope for Malaysia?
If one MDB hadn't been exposed, then, would we have been just going on like this?
Perhaps. But God is great. Believe God is great in his own way. I mean, you may say that this is unique or a bit awkward coming from me, but each in his own time. You cannot cover up a scandal. A financial scandal, at the end of the day, the stench will be evident.
Well, we've had so many scandals before.
Yeah, but
this
not,
is just one.
But never in Malaysian history has a scandal impacted directly on the Prime Minister. Can you tell me one Prime Minister whom is alleged to have money deposited in his account? Mariam, never in Malaysian history has Najib created such an impact.
Maybe he's careless.
Yeah.
Other Prime Ministers have been a bit more careful. Perhaps. I would name names.
Well, he may be careless, but then again, would that type of behavior be forgiven by Malaysian voters? I just give an example again. Before, I think, the expose by Wall Street Journal of 700 million in his accounts, you talk about the purchase of land by Tabung Haji from one NDB. That impact was immediate. We have, the women are the strongest and most solid voting bloc for UMNO. I'm talking about Malay women. The Ibu UMNO. You cannot break them. You cannot penetrate. That is their what you call that? Their fortress. You cannot break. I got one friend. He's a Malay. He's a very successful businessman on his own right. He's been trying to tell his competition secretary to think of an alternative, but she's hardcore UMNO. No matter what he says, no matter what they've done, cannot persuade them. Then suddenly when the story broke of Tabung Haji buying land from one NDB, she go and ask him, do I need to withdraw my money from Tabung Haji? Is EPF safe? That suddenly uncertainty, what we say in Malaysia, sudah goyang. Ini orang kuat UMNO goyang. That is a paradigm shift. If they lose the UMNO women's vote, UMNO is dead. That's why Shariza is so strong, despite the cows and condos scandal. She's so strong because she commands the UMNO Malay vote. It's just UMNO by default. But now because of one NDB, even before the expose on the Wall Street Journal, this has shifted. Even Najib admitted that because of the talk of 1 MDB and Tabung Haji, he has really shaken up the Malay ground, and coupled with the latest expose, we are actually venturing into new ground. Never seen before. Even after PR established, never before. Because this cuts to the heart of UMNO support.
But I think handouts and subsidy, right? And they were all goyang balik to UMNO again. Straight away, you give them handouts. Some of them you give promises, sweet promises. Election time, that's it.
Yes, but the economy has never been so bad. There's never hit the public so bad. Businesses are closing down. Go back and check. Businesses are closing down. The ordinary folks are suffering. I got taxi drivers coming to see me. You know, we help the taxi drivers in Penang. So the president of the Taxi Drivers Association, he come to see me and says, CM, how can they impose GST on us taxi drivers? They say, huh? I thought they say your taxi fares are exempted. What exempted? I go and change my tire, I got to pay GST or not? Yes, you have to pay GST for everything. And 6%, mind you, that is very drastic. Most countries start out at 3%. 6% is very drastic. It has a very big impact. Until even the ministers say that they have not done enough, UMNO ministers. They themselves admit they have not done enough explanation. And when UMNO ministers say they have not done enough explanation, that's an explanation, that is an admission that they have failed. So finally, at the end of the day, it is the economy. When the people are suffering, despite our, we say our disunity or breakup, but UMNO has not gained support from the breakup. In fact, they are losing support. Don't listen to me. Go back to Malaysia and get the feel.
Well, about 5 years ago in Ipoh, they said, oh, it's going to be so bad, ma, we're all going to habis lah. And then UMNO is still here. And then 10 years,
So,
previous to
sorry,
that,
when was 5 years ago? When did that happen?
in Ipoh,
No, who said that?
my accountant, everybody.
Yeah, accountant, but I'm now talking about the ordinary folks. How many, accountants are very important as voters, but how many accountants are there enough to go and change the results of the elections? Now I'm talking about hardcore UMNO voters, Felda voters, Malay women. You know, there are how many seats? 30 seats. Marginal UMNO seats. Just a swing. There will be a change of government. And this cuts to the core of UMNO voters. Commodity prices are going down. Felda shares are plunging. They buy more London hotels, they plunge even more. And of course, the failure of Najib to explain his role in 1NDB doesn't help. There's going to be a big internal fight in UMNO. You know what's going on, the internal factions in UMNO. So I think this will be very interesting times in Malaysia politics. But at the end of the day, the ordinary voter is going to ask, what is it in for me? And that's why in our meeting with all the opposition MPs, I stress, and I still repeat what I said, you must explain 1NDB in terms that can be easily understood by ordinary people. How will that impact on them economically? Because if 1NDB is not resolved, the investment climate will not improve. There's no reason for a ringgit to plunge to that levels. You know, it's not against the US dollar, it's not against the Singapore dollar. Even the Thai baht also goes down. You know, we're having 6% economic growth last year. Thailand only 1%. And yet, our ringgit continues to depreciate against the Thai baht. Started 950 last year, now, what, 870, 880, isn't it? So, what does that tell us? That the entire investment community has no faith in Malaysia's future prospects because of 1NDB. And that will have an impact with the deteriorating ringgit. Of course, not immediate, but if it goes on, you know how it will result in imported inflation, how you make it more difficult for ordinary voters, and how you make it more attractive for Malaysians to go and work overseas. I think all of you don't mind going back on your pound, really. It's valued and appreciates against the Malaysian ringgit.
Yes, I heard today, I think it was, that Thailand money changers are not accepting Malaysian ringgit. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't know whether any of you have heard it.
Very depressing news.
It's very depressing news. So, do you think you can win GE14?
Yes.
How are you going to counter all the cheating which will happen? And what are you going to do about the EC? Because they're not an independent body. They'll be beholden to UMNO Baru.
No, I think we have continued to plug on to get, when we talk about the gerrymandering in electoral constituencies, you need to win how many percent? Because 52, you need to win 54%. Get another % more. And suddenly you see the entire electoral gerrymandering make a dramatic shift. When you win 54%, it's not winning by 1 or 2 seats. It's winning by 20 or 30 seats. Because the manner in which the electoral constituencies are gerrymandered, once there's a shift, there's a domino effect. So it's 2%. Now, with one NDB, do you think we cannot get that 2% more? I have a bit of faith in Malaysians, even in Sabah and Sarawak.
That's 3 years' time, yeah?
Well, 3 years is sufficient for us to get a new coalition in order.
Yeah. But also sufficient time for UMNO Baru to regroup.
Yeah, maybe there's more scandals coming up. How do you know?
Or more money to pay off people.
Well, things sometimes will get worse before they get better. And we have not seen the end of one NDB story. There will be more coming. When I talk about one NDB, I always feel very embarrassed because there's a Penang night involved. You know who is in it? Who is it? Jolo. And he's just so inventive, you don't know what is coming next. So let's wait for the next edition.
You mentioned about the shift in votes by 2 or 3% as one of the biggest contributors to a possible win for the opposition. But how will that solve the issue of the three-way fight in maybe all the states or all the constituencies where PAS will be competing in? Number one. Number two is how far have KR and DAP taken up the slack after Anwar's imprisonment in terms of bringing real leadership and real pressure to the government, apart from the issues of 1MDB, because I've always ascribed to Anwar the ability to really put the BN government on its back foot all the time. He's always, pushing them, pressurizing. He's bringing people to the streets. That gives hope. That gives us fighting spirit. And finally, if you don't mind, there was a visit, and it has a relationship to some questions about the Islamic extremism in the past number of days. Your visit or the delegation to the Middle East recently, what was all that about, and what did you actually get out of it?
Thank you. Your name?
Sorry, Tahir.
Tahir. Thank you, Encik Tahir. When we went to the Middle East, it was actually on invitation by some of the Muslim students in Egypt, in Jordan, to visit them. So as part of our outreach, that visit was held by Mr. Siang. I may even be making another visit because actually we give scholarships to these students. I mean, talking about Penang State government, we give scholarships. So definitely I'm entitled to visit my scholarship students, isn't it? But actually, that trip I didn't go. But in case my boss is invited, and he got a very good response. Most of our students there were actually government scholars. And they are not as close-minded as you think they are. They are very open-minded. And they are willing to look at, they may not necessarily agree with you, but they're willing to listen. And willing to look at the other side. University students, as I said, generally are much more open. So our effort was to reach out. And then we got our Malay Muslim leaders to talk to them. And I thought that was a very good interaction. Then, of course, again, to demonstrate DAP's unfailing commitment towards a Malaysian ideal. That's number one. I think we hope to do more of these trips. Number two, the question of what have we done after Anwar's imprisonment. I think we have, number one, shown that our governments have not collapsed. Our governments continue to do what they do best, to carry the torch of reforms. And of course, a government that can perform better than Barisan Nasional, a government that is qualified to replace Barisan Nasional at the federal level. At the same time, of course, to show that race and religion should not divide us, but should unite us. Your last question on how do you reconcile getting the additional 2% in popular vote with the possibility of 3.5. When I talk about possibility of 2%, I'm talking about in general. But that 2%, if we get it translated in marginal seats, you're looking at much more than 2%. Suddenly you're looking at 6 or 7%. I'm talking about in general vote. So when you get 54% of the popular vote, you are looking at the change of government. But then, when the law of diminishing marginal returns, when it reach that peak, to get the extra 1 or 2%, not easy, but not impossible. So how do you reconcile when there's going to be a 3.5? Now, I think the stakes are now very clear. The new PAS, the new extremist PAS, who have shown their willingness to have a unity government with Barisan Nasional, who have shown their willingness to even at this stage defend Najib. Whether it is Harudin, it is remarks that these allegations are not logical. I don't understand why he says it's not logical. And then, of course, with even Hadi saying that you need 4 witnesses, whether it's 2 or 4 witnesses, to prove corruption, which is contrary to what is practiced in even Islamic countries. I think we will have to let the public decide. You want PAS is actually working in concert with UMNO. Or you want an alternative, a replacement to UMNO. I think that is a choice that the Malaysian public will have to decide. A PAS that seeks unity government with UMNO, or an alternative comprising of both DAP and other like-minded parties, including, as I said, progressive leaders in PAS. It is not going to be easy. That's why I say that 3 years 3 years to work it out and sort it out. But you need to strike out a different path. A different path based on a common platform which can unite all Malaysians. Not just in Perlis alone, but also in Sabah, Sarawak, Johor. And there is a great movement on the ground. I mean, for instance, you look at some remarks made by members of the Johor royalty, which you would never have expected before. I think this shows the underlying unhappiness at what is happening to our country. And I still feel at the end of the day, have some faith in Malaysians, even our pakcik or makcik lah. When they start questioning, kita perlu angkat duit keluar daripada tabung haji dah. A question they never asked before. I think this is the beginning of change. Thank you very much.
Thank you.